Imagine a pathway to U.S. citizenship with no strings attached, other than a $5 million price tag. Genius. Last week, President Donald Trump proposed a new visa program called the Gold Card. Before we get to the Gold Card, we wanted to dive into its predecessor, the EB-5 program. EB-5 has been a major funding source for projects across the country, from Hudson Yards in New York City to Trump Plaza in Jersey City. But it has also been at the center of massive fraud cases, leaving investors without their money or their green cards. Imagine handing over $500,000 for a U.S. green card and getting absolutely nothing in return. No residency, no money back. Just a polite email telling you that your investment, your future, has disappeared. This isn't some theoretical nightmare. It actually happened. For years, wealthy investors from around the world poured billions into a U.S. visa program that promised them a fast track to the American dream. Instead, they walked into one of the biggest immigration scams in history. And the worst part? The people running these scams almost got away with it. For decades, the EB-5 visa program has been marketed as a golden ticket to the United States. The concept was simple. Invest $500,000 in an American business, create at least 10 jobs, and in return, you get a fast-track green card for yourself and your family. Sounds like a win-win, right? America gets an influx of foreign investment, new jobs are created, and the investor gets permanent residency. It was a dream come true for wealthy individuals in countries like China, India, Brazil, and Russia, places where immigration to the U.S. is notoriously difficult. But this dream was being sold by some of the most corrupt figures in business. Take Ariel Quiros, a Miami investor, and his partner Bill Stenger, the president of Jay Peak Resort in Vermont. These two men personally convinced over 800 foreign investors to pour money into their so-called luxury ski resort project. Or Robert Matthews and his wife Mia, along with others who defrauded Chinese, Iranian, and Turkish investors out of millions, promising them a hotel in Palm Beach, what was never built, and green cards that never came. Or Bingqing Yang, the mastermind behind the Luca International. Her pitch? We're going to drill, baby, drill! Back in 2007, she was promising outrageous returns for exploration of sites in Texas and Alabama for oil and gas. In 2015, poof, it was all gone. No green cards, the well's dry. She stole $68 million from investors before fleeing the country. These weren't just small-time crooks. They were trusted business leaders, handshaking with politicians and selling a dream that was never real. And in a shocking number of cases, investors weren't just getting scammed out of their money, they were losing their shot at ever moving to the U.S. When the dust finally settled and the SEC had done its job, the question remained, what happened to the people responsible for these scams? For Ariel Quiros, the mastermind behind the Jay Peak Resort fraud, justice was slow but inevitable. He had spent years siphoning investor money into his personal accounts, living lavishly on private jets, luxury condos, and a seemingly endless supply of cash. But in 2020, the scheme finally caught up with him. After pleading guilty to multiple fraud charges, Quiros was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Along with his time behind bars, he was ordered to forfeit $81 million, a fraction of what was stolen, but enough to put a dent in his empire. His partner, Bill Stenger, tried to distance himself from the crime. He claimed he had no idea that Quiros was funneling investor funds into personal accounts, but ignorance wasn't a strong enough defense. As the president of Jay Peak, Stenger had spent years recruiting foreign investors, standing next to Vermont officials, and reassuring people that their money was safe. Even if he wasn't the mastermind, he had been a willing participant in the scheme. In the end, he was sentenced to 18 months in prison, a far lighter punishment than many expected, considering the scale of the fraud. Bingqing Yang, the CEO of Luca International LLC, Yang fled the U.S. as the SEC closed in. She was eventually caught in China, but by then her victims had already lost everything. Remember Robert and Mia Matthews? The Palm Beach power couple who turned an EB-5 visa project into their personal ATM? Well, let's just say their luxury yacht days are over. Robert, the mastermind behind the Palm House hotel scam, promised investors a five-star future, but instead, he pocketed their millions for real estate, fancy toys, and a one-way ticket to federal prison. He got 65 months behind bars, which is way less time than his investors spent waiting for a green card that never came. Mia? She was busy helping hide the money, and let's just say the IRS wasn't impressed. Jerry Matthews, Robert's brother, also got caught in the mess, pleading guilty to wire fraud because apparently family loyalty extends to crime sprees. And then there's Leslie Evans, the lawyer who allegedly helped shuffle all that stolen cash around. You know you're in deep when even your attorney is facing fraud charges. Evans is still at large, wanted by the FBI. You'd think after hundreds of millions of dollars stolen, the U.S. government would have slammed the brakes on EB-5 fraud, right? Yeah, not so much. Sure, the SEC threw a few fraudsters in prison, but plenty of them got off easy because apparently stealing foreign investors' money isn't as serious as, say, insider trading or tax fraud. Some even got to keep a chunk of the money because why refund victims when they don't live here? Let's clear something up. Not all EB-5 is bad. It's done some really good work in sections of America that would normally be overlooked. Some buy legit fast food franchises and car dealerships, start construction or tech companies. The list of successes is pretty long. Unfortunately, the program is rife with fraud because it plays on a dream, the dream of living in America. But now there's a new twist, President Trump's gold card visa.
We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card, this is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people.
This may very well turn out to be genius. Why bother with investing $1 million in a small business when you can just purchase U.S. citizenship outright for $5 million? That's exactly what Trump's team is proposing. A pay-to-play system where wealthy foreigners skip the investment, skip the job creation, and just buy their way in with one additional perk. Gold card holders will not have to pay taxes on foreign income. Currently, as a U.S. citizen, you declare and pay taxes on foreign income. Could this be the next perk for high-net-worth Americans? Might be better than a tax cut. The gold card would supposedly replace EB-5, but here's where it gets interesting. If Trump keeps EB-5 alongside the gold card, this could actually be a huge win for America. Think about it. EB-5 investors are smaller yet mighty. They would still pour money into real estate projects, hospitals, and infrastructure, but now would have oversight directly through the White House, ending the potential for fraud and putting money to work where jobs are needed most. That means billions in foreign capital, more job creation, and a bigger tax base, all without raising taxes on Americans. But here's the problem. There is a whole industry surrounding EB-5. There are consultants disguised as regional offices all around the country. They are not going to let that program go without a fight. Developers love EB-5 for good reason. For them, EB-5 investors are a source of cheap money. They're not looking for big returns. They just want a visa. They are also the biggest abusers of the system because it largely goes unchecked. That's why developers fight tooth and nail to keep the program alive. If oversight is handled directly through Washington, that's a big win, unless you're on the shady side of the program, which is why EB-5 should stay on the books under the watchful eye of the president. The big question: does America double dip, keeping both EB-5 and the gold card to rake in even more foreign money, or do we watch another profitable visa scheme morph into a political football where nothing gets done and more scams keep happening? Because if history has taught us anything, when there's money on the table, someone is always ready to play the game. Got an idea for a topic? Shoot us a DM or leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps us out.